Good evening. Tonight I'd like to speak about World War III between America and Russia as of the middle of April in 2018. I'll confirm that, in my opinion at least, it's not going to happen. And anybody that thinks it is crazy, further than the current status, which is of a skirmish between proxies in the Middle East. You're going to have Turkey and Iran and Saudi on one side, and Syria and whoever the hell else is supporting them on the other. And the actual movers and the shakers, the USA on one side and Russia on the other, are going to do nothing more than stand in the background, shaking their fists and shouting obscenities at each other. Putin is too astute a politician to get dragged into anything other than a shouting match. And if you think that Donald Trump is crazy enough to actually press the button, and that he has a big red button on his desk the way that he said to Kim, if you think that's true, then you need to go to bed right now, stay there for about 20 years and don't get up, because you're too stupid to walk the streets, and you shouldn't be allowed to breed, because you definitely don't need to be in the gene pool. Here's the issues. There is a principle called mutually assured destruction. So, assuming that Syria gets out of hand, and I'm not saying that it will, I don't think it will, but say that it did, then all of a sudden thermonuclear devices start being used. That won't happen, because as soon as Trump would start the countdown, the sanity checks within the DEFCON situation are going to yank the chain and stop it immediately. Putin, on the other side, he really doesn't want to get into all of this sort of nonsense. He has enough problems working with all of his bozos in Russia. So the bottom line is, who's going to do it? The people who have thermonuclear devices, there's a cluster of them, but the ones who are really dangerous would be in and around Pakistan. There'd be, even China's not going to do it, because China's already, as of the 15th of April in 2018, China has already had to back down regarding tariffs. Now, the thing about that is, Trump has already drawn a line in the sand there. And the thing is, he's exercising his prerogatives on that line in the sand. He drew a similar line in the sand with Syria, and he's actually acted on that. As of yesterday morning, there were strikes on the chemical factories. That's fine. As far as I'm aware, very few people were injured and nobody was killed. So, what happened? A handful of buildings got wrecked. I don't see a war developing over that. No, this is not going to happen. If you think that this is going to develop or escalate into the World War, no. You need to sit back, have a nice cool drink, reassess the situation. As of mid-April 2018, Wikipedia lists the following countries as among the top 10 countries in the world who possess nuclear weaponry. And they are Russia, USA, France, China, UK, Pakistan, India, Israel, and then somewhere along the line, North Korea. So North Korea is not really going to be in any sort of position to threaten anybody for a while. Okay, so that leaves all the rest of them. We have Russia and USA. Obviously, they're in possession of more than enough to destroy the world multiple times over. It is foreseen that for America to be able to bomb Russia. America is going to be able to bomb Russia with an awful lot more efficiency than Russia can bomb America and their allies. Russia currently has approximately 6,500, as opposed to America with just under 6,500. If America is going to bomb Russia, Russia is primarily in the western half of that country, the population and all of the armaments, etc. Because what they're doing is they are primarily aimed at domination of the West. So basically, half of the Russian homeland, motherland, whatever way they want to call it, is going to be the American target. In terms of the other Russia supporting states, Bulgaria, Hungary, Poland, whatever it was before the wall fell, they're all now defunct. So it's Russia standing all by itself. So if America wants to take on Russia, they take on Russia. If Russia wants to take on America, then you're going to have to say, right, okay, they're going to have a certain amount for America, they're going to have a certain amount for Canada, they're going to have a certain amount for Mexico, not much, but some. Then some for the UK, some for France, some for each of the NATO countries. And remember, each of the NATO countries has allowed America to take a stance and have some sort of a footprint in the country with nuclear arms. So therefore, not only is Russia going to have to decide Russia is going to have to decide not only how many armaments of their 6.6 thousand nuclear weapons, how many of those are going to go to each NATO country, but how it's going to be dispersed across that NATO country. For instance, in the UK, you could say that the optimal type of weaponry dispersion would be a whole lot into London, a whole lot into Birmingham, the major sort of population centres, Sheffield, Liverpool, Manchester, those places, and then some to Faslane, some to Portsmouth, some to Plymouth, some to wherever on earth, so that you get the Air Force, the Navy, whatever. And all of this would have to be done. So even the UK would conceivably have to be targeted with, say, 600. So if you got 600 coming to the UK, you got a similar to France. How many go to Germany? There's a cluster of American weaponry in Germany, a cluster of American weaponry around the world. So all of a sudden, all of these places now have to be targeted, and the information for their targeting has to be absolutely live, because it has to be. It's pointless firing off a nuclear missile to where something was 3 months ago. It has to be, if somebody lifts one of the Scud missile launch centres and takes it and moves it from Mannheim in Germany to just outside Stuttgart, whoever is targeting for Russia, they have to be right on the ball. It has to come in and be within, it has to hit this weapon system within about 2 minutes to be able to have any sort of effect. If it doesn't, then they've just wasted stuff. So therefore, as I say, there's 6,600 in total, and 600 here, 600 there. It all sort of disperses fairly rapidly, and then all of a sudden Russia's sitting looking at America and they're going, we've only got about 3,000 there. Don't think we'll bother. Because one of the things that's going to happen is, say for instance, they want to take on the American seaboard. You hop up and down the eastern seaboard of America if you're going to try and bomb them. And you've got Washington, Delaware, New York, Philadelphia, Boston, all of those places. Where do you concentrate your weaponry? Oh, it's the same as up and down the west coast. You've got San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego. And that's only in California. And then you've got all of the missile silos across the central USA. All of those places that are supposedly sort of top secret. Well, obviously the top secret ones you don't know about, but the ones that have sort of leaked, there's about 10 or 12 of them that are sort of you can find on the net. And each one of those places, you can't trust one bomb, because what happens? You send one bomb to New York, and some brave fighter pilot, like he thinks he's Tom Cruise, goes up, collides with it, shoots it down or whatever. It goes down. You wasted your time. So what you have to do is you have to blanket the place. So if you're taking a bomb to New York and its environs, one, no, 50 or 60 maybe, but one, not going to happen. Even a dozen, you'd be so many planes up in the air taking those out with air-to-air missiles. It would be up, shoot them all down, everybody back, we'll have a cup of coffee. So, from my point of view, Russia's not going to attack. They won't do a first strike anyway. Let's put it like that. So let's think about, would America make a first strike? They go through so many loops in terms of the sanity check, and so and so has to. They have to have two people within the room, and each of them has to have a turn of a key before somebody can press a button and everything. So bottom line is the line of communication goes from the we'll say the home security team, the military advisors, who presumably bring Trump into the Situation Office, and they say, listen, there's all by the bombs coming at us, we have to strike, or something's gone wrong, we have to make a first strike. First of all, they have to talk Trump into it, because Trump is sitting there and he is not like an awful lot of the politicians who have no children. He has children, he has grandchildren, he has a genetic investment in the future. He doesn't want all of this to happen and kill his kids. Would you kill your kids? Of course you wouldn't. Why the hell do you think he will? You think just because he's got orange hair that he's a psychotic? If you think that, you're crazy, and you ought to be put under medication. So they have to talk Trump into pressing the button. So he has to contact the guy that walks around with him, the guy that carries, I think it's called the football, which is essentially the control launch center. And the guy opens up the case, and your man puts in the all of the numbers, and everybody goes, yes, okay, I concur. All of those messages go off, and they go through about 5 or 6 layers of military administration before it ends up sitting with 2 guys in a room, and they're under lock and key. And they sit at 2 desks which are like about 10 feet apart, because the principle is that they don't want it so that one guy can turn both keys. So each of these guys has a key, and simultaneously they have to go click, deactivate the system. And it's not even a case where click and then go over here and go click. It has to be like within, say, half a second to 1 second, and then it activates. So that has to happen, and then they have their own set of morals to go through. So the in terms of the Americans doing it, you have every person and layer of management, administration that you have to go through before you can actually get to the room where they press the real button. And then at that time, the two guys in the room have to concur, yeah, this is a good thing to do. We're going to take a first strike exercise. Now, I don't see most Americans doing that. Americans are by nature a very moral nation. It's only the real loopers that sort of cause great concern. You have the guys who you'll talk about the school shooters and all the rest of that. I would contend that those guys, they're the ones who have dropped down between the cracks in the medication field. Most people in America who are safe and sane and they carry guns and all the rest of this sort of thing, most of them never draw a gun on anger in their life. And it seems to me that in reviewing all of these mass murders that have taken place over the last handful of years, it all seems to be a sort of mental acuity or mental, I'm not sure about the term. Okay, let's cut to the chase. The guy's a nutter. The guy's crazy. And anybody who thinks it's a good idea, by definition, to lift a gun and go and shoot somebody, they are nuts. So maybe it's time that the mental issue in terms of guns in America is taken into account. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Cycling back to our first strike scenario, Russia's not going to do it because Vlad has too much to lose. America's not going to do it because they're actually a really moral people. Let's have a look at China. China, the communist China, would have been possibly one of the groups that you could have said, yeah, maybe that'll happen. But since they've taken on Western ideals and Western philosophies, that seems to have fallen by the wayside. And they're now more business orientated than anything else. Take, for instance, Premier Xi, week before, actually accepted tariff changes from America, which Obama, let's face it, would never have tried to even squeeze out. And yet Trump threw them on the table, said, there you are, that's what we're doing, have at it, and turned around and walked away, and Xi blinked. And before that, it was Kim, and Kim blinked. Trump was going, yeah, you've got a button on your desk, I've got a bigger button, it's redder, it's on my desk, it's sitting just here by my hand. And Kim blinked. Nobody in their right mind even took that into account what Trump said. If you took that and you were serious, there's no hope for you. Others. The UK. Will the UK put up a first strike? No. UK wouldn't put up a first strike. France? No. France won't put up a first strike. Let's have a look. Pakistan. Pakistan against India. Who would Pakistan strike against? They wouldn't strike against the West. They would strike against their old enemies, India. Yeah, that would be the only place where I would see a national or international war taking place. That would involve nuclear weaponry. What really would concern me in terms of nuclear attacks are, and I I think it was discussed, it was mentioned in a movie, George Clooney and Nicole Kidman, and I can't remember the name of the movie. But the principle was that there were a couple of nukes stolen. And I think one of the phrases used in it was, you're not, the two protagonists were discussing it, and one of them said to the other, I'm not concerned about somebody who has X hundred weaponry, because this sort of scenario that we're talking about. He or she said, the one that scares me is the guy who only wants one. Because that's the principle. That guy who only wants one, he's dangerous because of what he has a message to send. That is where the danger comes in. It's not for the nations. It's not for the countries. It's for a political group, a religious group, some people who have an axe to grind. I would even put in sort of the geopolitical specialists, like the guys who are rabid about global warming. They're so adamant that what they're doing is right that they're willing to go to the ultimate decision. And that is a scary notion. People who think that human life isn't worth living, or isn't worth human life isn't worth considering in terms of other, and I'll say lower orders, animals, vegetation, whatever. Somebody who thinks like that is dangerous. Somebody who thinks my religious opinions are more valuable than yours, and my God tells me that's a good idea to kill you, he's a scary individual. The guy who says the colour of my skin or my culture is so much better than yours that you're subhuman and I can kill you. That subhuman business was sort of fairly popular during the Second World War, and those guys ended up killing a lot of people. So anybody who thinks themselves as being superior to anybody else, you've got serious issues there. Okay, so is the war, cycling back to the start, is the war going to happen? No. Will there be an ongoing skirmish in the Middle East? Yes. That's never going to stop because you have too many people who have their own ideas as to what is right and wrong. And as we discussed, their idea of you having a life and you having the rights to your life, that doesn't enter into the equation. So that's that. World War III, not going to happen. At least not under the current administration. Putin's not going to do it. Trump's not going to do it. Xi's not going to do it. Macron's not going to do it. May won't do it. Who else? Don't know about the others. Everybody else is sort of fairly loose. Netanyahu, don't see it. But on the other hand, Netanyahu is only the figurehead in Israel. Israel is the bit that worries me. They're the people that, and don't get me wrong, I support Israel. They're the people that they learned the hard way that not standing up for yourself doesn't make you any friends. So therefore, I think that although Israel is listed as a nuclear owning or nuclear armaments country, I think they're vastly underrated. Here it says, according to Wikipedia this morning, it says that Israel has around about 80 nuclear devices. I don't think so. I think it'd be much, much more. I'm 60. And whenever I was in my late teens and early 20s, there was an issue, and it became very popular at the time. So you're talking about 40 odd years ago, talking about late 70s, early 80s. A guy called Mordecai Vanunu had been in the Israeli defense industry making nuclear devices, and they'd been successful with one. Here was the fun part. That was 80 years ago. I have a sneaking suspicion that they would have made more than 80 in the meantime. But I'd say that the vast majority of them aren't sort of made public. If I was in charge of Israeli defense and sitting in Netanyahu's chair, I would have, over the last 10, 12, 15 years, started to disperse weaponry around the Middle East, especially to the antagonistic countries. All they need to do is, pay some flipping crook to bring a box from Tel Aviv to Damascus. And then you take it and you put it into a block of flats that's about 100 feet tall or whatever, just over Damascus, and then it sits there. Could be anywhere else, could be Jeddah, could be Mecca, could be anywhere. And then a threat comes. A threat comes to Israel. And the threat is, we're going to attack Israel. And Israel says, no, not a good idea. We advise you not to. That's your first warning. And then the antagonists say, we're going to attack Israel. We'll be there tomorrow morning. And Israel says, no, this is your second warning. Don't do it. So then, presumably, the antagonist says, right, okay, we're going to start all our forces all going all together. And then what happens is, say all of the Air Force of the antagonist starts together at the airport, and they start to sort of fuel all of their weapons. Israel at that point goes, not going to happen. Somebody presses the button, or somebody says whatever, yes, start the ball rolling. I would expect that there would be a nuclear bomb planted in the capitals and in the major cities of most antagonistic countries. If you think about it, it only needs about 20 or 30 around, because it's not like going over and dropping a bomb where somebody's going to try and shoot you out of the ground. This thing is already planted, has been maybe planted 10, 15 years. And all that's going to happen is this thing is going to just wreck 3 square miles, 4 square miles of any city in and around the Middle East. And it'll send them back to the Stone Age. Similar to, for instance, the oil fields. Israel has, or should have, absolutely no compunction with wrecking an oil field, especially if they have their own oil fields now off the eastern seaboard underneath their territory in the Mediterranean. There's apparently oil being found there. So the thing is, they've got oil, they've got natural gas, they have all of the fuel they want. They don't need oil coming in from Saudi, Iran, Iraq, wherever the hell it is. So what's to stop them lobbing a few nuclear devices at the oil wells and making essentially the area in and around the oil wells dirty for 25 years? Polonium based or something like that. Bung it in there, in and around the oil wells. Nobody can go near it for 20 odd years, and that thing's just leaking out, wrecking the country. I would, but I'm a nasty bastard. Okay. Now, that is the end of today's discourse. If you agree with me, fine. If you don't, Let me know. Call me a fool, call me insane. You never know. Say that I'm wrong, say that I'm right. Come back for a discussion. Subscribe. Vote the film up or down. It all depends on you. It all depends on your interpretation. Come back and tell me something else that I've forgotten, and we can have another discussion. This could be the first of many. Get back. You'll always get a good discussion here. Thank you and good night.